There's so many rules of thumb out there for preparing for retirement that I almost feel like I need a rule of thumb just to choose a rule of thumb. And I've been a fee-only financial advisor for over 20 years. So if I feel that way, I can't imagine how the average person out there feels. Let's go for a walk and I'll share with you my thoughts to hopefully help you choose which rule of thumb, if any, is right for you. Okay, so the three main rules that I'm going to go over are the 4% rule, but the inverse of 4% is 25, right? 1 divided by 4% is 25. So for today's video, I'm calling that the rule of 25. Let's start with that one. This rule really is the foundation for what we in the industry call a sustainable withdrawal rate. How much money can you take out of your account each year and increase it by the rate of inflation, so your purchasing power feels the same, and have a very high likelihood of never running out of money over a 30-year period? The gentleman that developed this theory is Bill Bengen, and Bill's work is considered to be foundational in financial planning. So that's kind of the gold standard, is the 4% rule, the rule of 25. But the challenge is it's pretty conservative. Mr. Bengen did 10,000 different scenarios, really trying to predict good outcomes and bad outcomes. And the rule of 4% gives you a 97% likelihood of never running out of money. So in Bill Bengen's 10,000 cases, in 9,700 of them, 97%, the individual never runs out of money. And that feels really good, obviously, to us. You want to have as high of a certainty of not running out of money. The negative of it is it's pretty thin. 4%, if you look at how much money you have. For most of us, we're like, I'd like to be able to spend more than 4%. Can I spend more? So again, I'm calling that the rule of 25 for this. The next rule is the rule of 17. And the rule of 17 looks at that rule of 25, the 4% rule, and says that's too conservative. Could we spend closer to 6%? The inverse of 17 is just under 5.9%. So this is an attempt to say, can you spend more? Can you spend 5.9%, almost 6% a year? And what are the safety blankets in case you find yourself on that unlucky path and you're worried that you're going to run out of money? So the rule of 17 sounds like it gives you more money to spend, but importantly, it does not consider your other sources of income. So it doesn't include Social Security. The folks from the rule of 17, people that like to follow that, would say Social Security is your backup, is your blanket. Well, for the average check in the United States for Social Security is a little over $1,800 a month. So that, yes, it's nice to have that cushion, but that's a lot of money being left on the table. That's somewhere like over $20,000 for the average family being left on the table. So let's say you've got, even if you have $1 million, $20,000 as a safety is 2%, 4% plus 2% is 6%. So does it really get us anything? It can help you if you're thinking of retiring earlier, before Social Security comes in. Really think about segmenting. What does life look like before Social Security? What does life look like after Social Security? I think there's a better way to go about that, and I'm going to share that at the end, so stay tuned. Okay, the next rule is the rule of 45, and that's Fidelity's rule. Similar to the rule of 17, Fidelity would say, let's take out other sources of income, primarily for American Social Security. And Fidelity would say we all should benchmark our retirement savings being able to supply 45% of our pre-retirement income, being able to replace that, so that Social Security will then take you to 80%. Another rule of thumb is you need 80% of your pre-retirement income in order to retire, in order to have a comfortable retirement. So Fidelity's approach to that segmenting Social Security out is the rule of 45%. So when you have enough money to replace 45%, sorry, of your income, then you're really close to being able to retire. Again, none of this is financial advice. I don't know your situation. I want to put these things on your radar screen. So, and Fidelity would also agree that Bill Bengen's rule for many of us is too conservative. They would say as you approach 65, as you're in that 30-year range, instead of 4%, you can take out 4.5%. And the younger you retire, the more years you have in retirement, the lower that withdrawal rate should be. And I agree with that. If you have a longer term time horizon that your money has to last, then you likely are going to have to take out less money each year from that. So going back to Fidelity's rule of 45, it's very similar to the rule of 4%. They would say, if just for easy math for me, if you have $1 million a year, the rule of 45, taking out 45% of what you were making before. Let's say you were making $100,000 a year, and Fidelity would say by the time you're approaching 65, you should have saved 10 to 12 times how much money that you're earning. So again, if you're making $100,000, Fidelity would say you should have about $1 million, and that's going to fund 40% of your pre-retirement salary. It's going to replace that. So making $100,000, it goes up to $1 million, 10 times that. 4.5% of that is $45,000 a year. That's where Fidelity gets their rule of 45. So what's the right answer? So those are the rules: the rule of 17, the rule of 25, and the rule of 45. What's the right answer for you? It's probably not going to surprise you. I think the right answer is none of the above. I think the 4% rule is directionally correct. I think it's going to get you close, but I certainly do not think that you should retire based on a rule of thumb. You can be saying, about how much money should I have saved up? And if I wanted to retire now, what would that income look like? But you don't want to be directionally correct when it comes time to actually retire. You want to have clarity. You want to have as much confidence as you can, because that'll give you the ability to stay the course if and when the stock market does its next correction. I shouldn't say if. I don't know, but I know that over the next 20 years, there'll be some negative years in the stock market. So what I like better is working with a professional to figure out what those numbers are for you. I encourage you to work with a fee-only financial advisor or an accountant. One thing that takes you a step between a rule of thumb and working with a professional is using an online tool to do the analysis yourself. One online tool that I have used in previous videos, I'm not sponsored by this group, but it's called honestmath.com. What I like about this tool is it gives you that Monte Carlo simulation that Bill Bengen basically brought into the financial planning world and came up with that 4%. So honestmath.com. I've got a video here where I've talked about using honestmath.com. I use an example of somebody with $500,000, that's 50. And then I have another video up here that really just talks about 5 reasons to retire as soon as you can. We've worked hard for our money. I want you to enjoy it. I'll see you in one of those 2 videos. Bye-bye.